So I was sent one of these from Wi-Fi Smart Home. It's a 2-gang switch, and it's got a tactile button, so it's actually a button you press. So I'm going to connect that up and see if it's possible to use one side to power my light switch and the other side to power my lamps. Now in the packet with this light switch also came this, and it's got like a Bluetooth switch as well, and it came with an extending collar, so it will fit into your light box, because this switch is pretty deep. So I'm going to take that out the box, the switch out the box, and we'll have a look at these things as well. Now this is quite interesting. This is the capacitor, I would assume. So if you open it up, then you can see it is pretty meaty. It's pretty large. So the capacitor we got with the other switches is much smaller than this, probably, you know, less than a quarter the size of that. This is pretty big, so you need a big space at your lights to be able to fit this in. Now the light I'm going to fit it in has got very limited space, so I don't even know if I'll get this on. So this connects across the live and the neutral, and it just gives it that, basically you're giving the switch a connection to the neutral. They don't really work without this being in the ceiling. I would say this is probably pretty big. Really need to think about if you can fit that in or not, because if you can't, then there's a bit of a problem. So it's about 38 centimetres if you include the wee tags, the widest points. It is about 53 by about 23 deep and about 27 wide. So it's not small, it's quite a chunk. So that will be used in the ceiling rows, which that won't fit into any normal ceiling rows. So you'll need to think about embedding that in the ceiling. So with this being as huge as it is, you're going to find it difficult to get that in a ceiling rows, unless of course you're using things like IKEA lights seem to be pretty good at that. They have a massive like part for the connections to go in. They're really good at having space at your lights. I've not really seen many more manufacturers. Usually they try and go for really slim and you know, it's very tight to get a junction in, and so to fit this in, I've got a sneaking suspicion it's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to give it a bash and we'll see how it goes. Now this one actually does come with instructions, believe it or not. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of instructions, but I like to actually have a look at these things, and there is a description of how to put it in, what app it uses. So there's a lot of information in here. This is probably the best instructions I've seen for any of these switches. Usually it's a small business card you've got with tiny instructions. This is actually pretty good. I would say this is this is like useful instructions, which is so. And this is a good point here, is to change your Wi-Fi over a 2.4G. Because if you've got 2.4 and 5G switching, your phone automatically connects to the 5G and you cannot pair any of your switches up. It's pretty good. That is a good tip, because when you're first trying to do this, it can be a real problem trying to get these to connect. But if you set your router to just do 2.4 G on your 2.4 gigahertz on your Wi-Fi, then you'll have no problem setting all these devices up. This just gives you a wee bit extra depth. It's probably 10mm, so if your boxes are a wee bit small, you should be able to use this, and it will bring the switch out just a wee bit further and allow all the workings of the switch to fit into your switch box. and this, a key fob for your lights. Obviously people do have uses for this. It might have uses that I've not thought of, I'm sure it does. I'm sure people out there are using remote controls for their light switches all over the world. If you happen to see this and see me talking absolutely rubbish, don't be scared to put a comment in and let me know what you use these controllers for. A remote control switch for your light switch. Yeah. Let's take a look at the switch. So I'm going to open this up and we'll take a look at that. So here is the switch. It is, yeah, it's quite different. It's actually got a physical switch. So you actually move this and it should switch on. For people who like a tactile switch, this is ideal. It does have a definite, you're definitely switching that on. And there's a small light there. We'll see what colours they are when it's up and running. It is pretty meaty at the back, so yeah, you need a backing box 25. That looks about 25 deep. So yeah, I would say. So this is 25mm. Most backing boxes are 25mm, and I suppose that's what that collar's for. You put that on, it'll give you an extra 10mm. My boxes are 25 deep, but also they sit in the wall, so I might actually get away without the collar. You will have to check the depth of your backing boxes to use that. It's 25mm. So both of these are good. What I'm going to try and find out is, I only have a single switch. I'm going to use it in my living room, but because these are smart switches, I'm going to attempt to use the second gang. So the first gang, I'll use this side, will be for the living room light, and for this one, I want to actually turn on my lamps. So I'm going to actually see if I can get this side. It won't be connected to any light physically. It will just be powered up through the common cable, and I'll be using L1 will be going to the living room light, so that will be wired in, and L2 won't be wired into any light at all. I'm just using it as a switch on the wall. It won't be wired into any light. So basically all I wanted to do is to use the Wi-Fi to control my lamps. So I'll be able to switch on my living room light, overhead light with that one, and my lamps with this one. And I want to see if that'll work. This uses a wee link, this one, which isn't my favourite app. I'm going to start wiring this up, and then we'll see how it pans out. When you read the instructions, L1 has to have the capacitor fitted, and L2 doesn't. So L1 is your main switch. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem for me because I was wanting to reverse it around the other way. I was wanting to use L2 as my main switch and L1, but it seems like you can't do that. It's got to be on L1. So that's quite an important thing, and just as well I read the instructions. They do come in handy after all. So yeah, so when I was trying to move it, the switch does not work at all. If you try and use L2 or whatever, if it's an L3, that won't work either. So it's only L1 that will work with the capacitor. So you've got to bear that in mind. So L1 is actually the left hand gang. So when you look at the switch, it's this one here's L1 and that's L2. I suppose I'll get used to it. If I can get them to work, I'll be glad. So anyway, just thought I would bring that up. It's quite important when you're fitting it. So this is the old switch. This is just a single gang switch, and what I've done is replaced it with that one. Now this was quite tricky. It's quite crammed in there because it's a 25mm backing box and this is about 25mm deep, so it's quite tricky to get in. I'll leave a link to another video which will show you how to actually fit these. All I'm using is on the back is the common and L1. Those are the two connections, and for L2 there's no connection to that at all. So it's very, very simple. I'm just using this purely as a smart switch. It's not actually connected to a light in any physical way, just through Wi-Fi. Check out the other video if you're not confident about fitting them. That might give you a better idea of what's required. I suppose the good thing about these is even when it's not connected to the Wi-Fi, you can still use it as a physical switch. It is a bit noisy. When you press that, you can hear it then clicking over. It's quite a noisy switch. It's not like the others. It's not like these ones, which are completely and utterly silent. There's no noise from these at all. Whereas this one, you can hear it. So you press it, it gives a click, and then there's a secondary click. Okay. Now this should work. If I can get it connected to the Wi-Fi, these should work. That should be able to power my lamps. So this is L1 here, and that's L2, as you would expect. I was trying to get them to work the other way around because I wanted this to be my main room light here as you walk in, but only to be this one. You can't swap them about, make them different. So anyway, but you can hear that. It's quite a difference, but it's got a good physical click. There is a good, you feel like you're switching on a switch. You can see it's sort of quite big. I managed to get mine into my backing box because I've got a 25mm backing box, but also it's sunk into the wall a bit, so it will fit, but it's tight. This uses up every millimetre of space around about it. It's hardly any room for the cables at the top, so it's pretty tricky. Probably want to if you're not confident at all, I would definitely get your electrician to fit this. This is these are quite a tricky to fit. There's not a lot of room in there once you put this in. Seems to work well, and I did manage to fit that massive capacitor in there barely. It is crammed in that space, so it's very, very tight up there. It's something to bear in mind. Okay, first thing I want to do, go in here. I want to switch off the 5 gigahertz, so I'll switch that off just now. I should just do that, and we're ready to go. So it's just a 2.4 gigahertz network that's on. EV link. Yeah. Now I've got a few that are off grid at the moment. I still have my kitchen light. I want to add a new one. So this tells you again in the instructions, please use compatible mode. Oh, compatible, there it is down there. Don't know if you can see that. Right there. So it's not any of these, so let's go to compatible pairing. Yeah. Right, power off the device and power it on. Long press pairing button for 5 seconds. So I've just powered it up. I'm going to just put it into compatibility mode. So I'll press and hold. So then you let it go. It does 2 flashes and 1 long flash. And then you hold it again for 5 seconds. It's a continuous flash. That's it, ready for the app. So then we just go into next. Oh, and we can connect to our Wi-Fi, and then it should, with any luck, should see it within about 10 seconds usually. There it is, ready there, 5 seconds. So you sort of know if it's going to connect up. So after many hours of attempting to get these to connect to my Wi-Fi, it would not connect to my Wi-Fi. It took forever. So I ended up having to refer to these things again, which is the instructions, which, I'm actually a big fan of. And of course, they do tend to get you out of trouble. So I followed this paragraph here, which you connect to the light. The light's actually got a Wi-Fi. You connect to that, and then after a couple of attempts at that, it actually did connect. After that, it was working. So now I can control them from my phone, which is really really good. Once you can do that, that's pretty much you. Once it's connected up, you know, it's been really reliable since it's been connected. So yeah, there's a couple of things you can do in here, into settings, and you can actually, which is quite a good wee thing, is turn off the network indicator. So when you're looking at that, if I turn it on again, boom, you see that? So that stays blue all the time. It's quite bright actually, it's quite a bright wee light. So by going into the device, you can actually, from the app, you can switch it off. The wee orange lights are actually quite unobtrusive. They can be, I mean, you do see them when it's dark, you know, and when you press them on, it is bright. That's quite a bright light. So this was a single gang light switch. Now I've put this 2-gang smart switch in. So this one's wired up to the main light, which puts the main light on. It's pretty good. There's no delay between pressing that. About half a second or something for it to trigger. You can hear it switching. And this one, it takes about a good 2 seconds anyway before it switches all the lamps in the room. It's switching on this one here, that one, and that one. And they all get switched on with this one switch. So when I switch it, it just takes like 2 seconds and then they all switch off. That is probably the power of the smart switch. It doesn't have to be connected to a light. You can use this for anything you want. So like anything you've connected, if you want to use that to switch on a heater somewhere, or a fan, or anything at all, anything that you can connect to a smart plug, because these are all on smart plugs, you can connect to that switch. That's on a smart plug, which is on an extension lead, which controls 2 of my lamps. So this smart plug here is really good. It will take about 16 amps, so you can actually extend it. You can have quite a few things running off this, including probably a heater or whatever you like. And that's what I've got controlling my lights. So in my room I've got 2 smart plugs. So one of the smart plugs operates this lamp, that one up there. That one there is operated by a smart plug as well. And this lamp here is operated by a smart bulb. So I've got 2 smart plugs and a smart bulb in the room, all operated from this 2-gang smart switch now. So I'm going to add this key fob, which is, I thought it was Bluetooth, but it's actually RF. So it's a radio frequency that can communicate with this light. So apparently all I do is hold that, right, so that should now work with it. Wow, that was incredibly easy. So now I'm going to do this one for B. And that should be that one. Maybe. Yep. Yep. That's got to be the easiest thing ever to set up. It's just a real problem. I can't think of anything I would use that for, but it's really, really easy to set up. That's amazing. That was the first attempt. So yeah, there's no like 15 hours of footage me trying to set this up. That was actually live. Can you believe it? I can't, actually. That's amazing. I'm going to play with that for hours now. Oh, there it is. That's good. Cool. Right. So there's a slight delay. It's just a wee, I don't even think it's a second, like half a second maybe. I think it says quarter of a second in there, but I think they've been a wee bit generous, but that B one is temperamental. But yeah, it does work, and it is switching my lights on and off. And I imagine it doesn't have to be right next to the switch, so I'm going to try it from another room. I'm going to switch on the overhead light. Has it got to be in line of sight? Oh. Right. Right. The radio frequency, it should be able to work. If I just tuck in, I'm just going to tuck in, I'm out of line of sight, I'll put it up there. I'm out of line of sight. Not a thing. No lamps. I come in, just it is lamps. So lamps, both sides work, but you've got to be in sight of the blooming switch, so it can only work in this room, really. Yeah, sort of good idea, I suppose, but I don't think that'll be getting used. Anyway, the switch is pretty good. That is a pretty good switch. Nice tactile feel. You know, if you like a switchy switch, this is the one for you. The good thing about this one is as well, it's not like shiny, so it's like, I don't think it'll show up the fingerprints as much. This has not been in very long, probably I've had it on for about a week just to test reliability and stuff. It's been absolutely fine. Yeah, once you get used to the big clunks in it, it's cool to use, and it does work. And now that it's connected to the Wi-Fi, I've not had a single problem with it since it's been connected. That is basically smart home switch. Obviously these work with Google and Alexa, so you can also control these with your voice. I'm well happy being able to switch on my lamps just from the touch of a button. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'll put in the link all the stuff I've used for this switch and to operate the lamps and stuff. If you've ever used If This Then That, then it won't be a problem for you. It's really easy to set up. If you haven't used it, I'll maybe put another video up showing how to do that. Obviously if you want that, just ask and I'll make up a video for that. Even on the eWeLink app, by doing the If This and That, just opens up the possibilities of what it can do. The eWeLink app's really simple, but you know, by doing If This and That, you can actually open this up. So that's communicating with things I've got on smart things, which is great. So basically this can communicate with any light that I've got, any plug that I have, and yeah, it's been great. And if you like tactile switches, this is definitely one to look at.